Radio check. Holy man. That was quite an audio issue. So stupid too. Did a bunch of troubleshooting to try and figure out and see what was going on, and it just wasn't. Nothing was really working. I tried changing the volumes and stuff. Well, it turned out that somewhere deep down in the audio settings, if I could speak, it switched my audio output source for no reason. So instead of coming out of my speakers, the audio source for some reason was switched itself to the Nvidia sound drive or whatever it is. That didn't really make any sense. I didn't change it to there. I'm not really sure what happened. Odd. So my apologies for the delay, but it's all figured out and we're good. Anyway, it's been about a week since I was able to stream. Life has been very jam-packed and interesting for the last 3 weeks. Basically ever since I came back from my vacation, boys, there's been a lot going on. But today's the day I get to chill out and have some fun, fly in the sim and stream and talk to anyone who might join in. Ugh. But anyway, we're back in the 737 and we're doing a flight today from Houston International to Miami, and we're going to be, for the most part, riding along the coastline of the Gulf, and we might get some good shoreline views and everything while we're in the air. Today we're flying American Airlines. We're flight 2103. That's a real-life flight from Houston to Miami, so we're going to rock that today. Yeah, it's been really interesting, but it's kind of nice just to come on and stream and do what I love to do for once. I don't know when the next stream is going to be. Hopefully soon. Hopefully things start calming down, but it's a lot going on. But anyway, let's enough of that, and we'll get in the aircraft and we shall get ourselves ready to go for our flight today. So, all right. One thing I did do recently was I did download the AI traffic, or the injected traffic, or whatever it is, for VATSIM. So, you know, the aircraft types and livery should be, you know, realistic compared to the traffic that's in VATSIM, rather than, you know, Microsoft's generic models for aircraft. I also turned the static traffic off, or the ground traffic, because all my gates kept being taken from me, and those planes didn't actually exist. And when I hop on VATSIM, it gets hard to determine who is an actual aircraft on VATSIM and what's just a ground aircraft to occupy some parking spaces. So I turned all that off, and we're looking a little more realistic on this flight now, so that's good. Alright, so again, like I said, Houston to Miami. We do have the aircraft weight and all that loaded already. I don't have GSX. I don't have much desire to get GSX because it sounds like it updates all the time, and, you know, there's quite a few bugs on a pretty constant basis as it goes on. So I am a-okay with going without it. The PMDG has a really good pushback function and everything works just fine. I did used to have Pushback Express, but that doesn't seem to work. Not sure what's going on. I try and download like an updated model and that doesn't work either. So if anyone knows if Pushback Express is just done for, or what the deal is, or if there is a way to update it and I'm just doing it wrong, please let me know. I'm trying to figure that out, because when it comes to pushback on the CRJ, I don't really have any options except for straight back, you know, the classic Microsoft Flight Simulator Shift P. But if I could get Pushback Express running again, and I can control it myself, I can actually push back to where I want to go. Let me know. Anyway, now we're in the aircraft, and we're done with all of this audio nonsense and everything, so let's get this aircraft rolling. So, before we turn the battery on, we're going to verify that the gear's down, speed brakes are up, flaps are up, reversers are stowed, and the thrust levers are idle. Everything looks good. Nothing weird would happen if we provided power to the aircraft. So let's go up to the overhead panel and do that. Battery's coming on. All the lights are coming on. We're getting power. That's good. Emergency lights are going to be armed. And we're going to immediately flip the IRS switches to nav so we can get that lined up nice and quickly. And before we turn the APU on, let's just get some panel lights on because I do believe that the sun is going to set during this flight. We are down south, so the sun is going to set later than, you know, what it would up north here. Hope we're getting the ground call because of a battery discharge, but that's fine. The APU is going to come on shortly. Get that floodlight up one notch. Turn the main panel up front on here. That's good. And on the right side as well. Yes, I know. There's a battery discharge. Alright. We're going to try and shut that alarm up. Got to deal with it for a second. At least it's quieter with the Boris audio work than it is in the default sound pack. So that's good. But we're just going to have to listen to it anyway until we get the APU generators on. Oh, talk about APU gen. Let's go ahead and get that switch to APU gen so we can monitor that correctly. EGT is on the rise. Alright, and that's normal. You know what probably would have helped if I turned all these knobs up when the battery was still off. That would have been a smart move. Alright, our APU generator is available. Cool. Alright, we do have positive amps from the APU generator. That's looking good. Verify IRS knobs are in the nav position, which they are. Alright. Alright, now we're ready to do our flows and get this aircraft ready for flight. Alright, so let's do that. Flight controls are on and guarded. That's good. The standby hydraulic lights are off. Alternate flaps are off and guarded. Good. Our spoilers are on and guarded. That's good. These lights will extinguish once we get everything else set. We'll go ahead and turn on the yaw damper on the ground. Look for that light to extinguish to verify it works, which it does. That's good. All of our nav switches are in the normal position where we want it. For the displays, the source is on auto. The control panel is normal. Ooh, excuse me. Fuel temp is looking normal. All of the valves are closed. That's fine. Let's get the left forward fuel pump on for the APU. That light extinguishes. We're good on fuel pressure there. We're looking good on our amps and our charge information. Batteries on and guarded. The AC switches are both on, which is good. Standby power switches here. Standby power is on auto, and then the disconnect switches are closed and guarded. That's good. Alright, ground power we're not using. We have APU gen on. That's good. EGT is looking normal. Love to see it. We got some lights on board for when the sun sets we can see in the dark. Equipment cooling is both in the normal position. Ooh, excuse me, got a little bubble. Alright. Yeah, emergency lights are armed and guarded. These lights are all extinguished. That's good. We'll turn the fasten seatbelt signs on as everyone is getting on board. We will test the flight attendant call button. That works good. And we know that that works because we had a battery discharge that had to get taken care of. Cool. Alright, so wipers can both stay off. Those are fine for now. We'll go ahead and turn the window heat on. Probe heats can stay off for now. Anti-ice we don't need. Hydraulic pumps can stay off while we're at the gate. Test the cockpit voice recorder. Hold it. Look for a green light, which we get. Good. That works. The cabin pressurization is all 0. Everything looks good. We're on the ground. That's exactly what we want. Voice recorder is auto. That's good. Supply duct, continuous cab. That's fine. Trim air is on. That's good. It's a little bit hot down here, so we're going to get some air flowing in the back for the passengers. So what we'll do is packs are on auto. APU bleed is on. And since we're not running on the engines yet, I'm just going to flip those bleed switches to off to get rid of the dual bleed enunciation. ISOL valve is open. We're looking good. We get duct pressure. And the air pack temps are lower, so we're getting some AC back there so the passengers can cool down. Alright. So today we're looking at a cruise altitude of 37,000, flight level 370. So we'll put that in the pressurization cruise panel here, flight altitude. And the landing altitude at Miami is 9 feet, so we're going to leave this at 0. That looks good. Pressurization is auto, so we're fine there. Logo light can come on. Position lights are nav only. Nav lights only, that's good. And everything else can stay off now. We're going to go up top here. We're going to tap the... Dude, English is difficult. We're going to test the flaps light, which they all work. That's good. Let's go ahead and flip this to heading status. It's going to be 3 minutes for our IRSs to align. That's not a lot of time. That's pretty good. They are currently aligning as indicated by the lights here. GPS light is off. That's good. All of the rest of these lights are extinguished. Excellent. Service interphone we don't need right now. That's fine. Dome lights we don't need. It's daytime. The standby radios are all set just exactly where they should be. The reverser lights are off and extinguished. That's good. Engine control units lights extinguished, and these switches are guarded. That's good. Crew oxygen is above 15. Passenger oxygen is normal and guarded. That light's extinguished for the passenger oxygen, and we have 3 greens up top for the landing gear. That's good. Flight recorder is normal and guarded. We'll give ourselves a mock airspeed test. Those are good. Stick shakers. Number 1 works, and ooh, number 2 is already working. That's good. Sweet. So now we're going to run through the autopilot panel here. Verify that no one is online in Houston. It is not. That's fine. So we'll just go straight up to our cruise altitude of 37,000 today. And then we'll modify that if we need to move for traffic or whatever it might be. We'll do the airspeed to V2 plus 10, which is typically about 160. We'll change that if necessary. That's fine. We're expecting runway 9er, I believe, for the departure out of here. Yep, plan for runway 9er. So let's go ahead and set the heading bug on the autopilot to 090. And we have runway heading in there. Cruise altitude, airspeed's fine, course is good for now. We'll leave that. We'll look at the altimeter setting for Houston and throw that in now while I remember, which is 3005. So let's go ahead and put that in there. Oops. Okay, 3005 is set. That's good. And just running across here, I've lost my track. A lot going on. I can barely think at the moment. Okay, cool. So let's run across the top here. All of our DUs are in the normal position. That's good. We'll test the autopilot warnings. We got lights. These lights are all extinguished. The lights we can flip up to test. Everything lights up like a Christmas tree. Love it. N1 set is auto. Speed ref is auto. Fuel flow to rate. That's good. These buttons we'll leave alone for now for the MFD. Auto brake is off. Flaps are up. Anti-skid and op. That should technically be extinguished right now, but I think that just turns off once the engines get running and everything's going. Cool. So we have 3 greens for the landing gear over here as well. Gear levers down. We'll check the brake pressure once we get the hydraulic pumps rolling. Test the autopilot and auto throttle messages over here, and those light up. Those are good. The lights underneath are extinguished. Looks like our IRSs did just align because now the FMC prompted us to enter position, so we will do that relatively soon. Yep, now we're getting a message from the FMC. We'll go ahead and just get rid of that for now, and we'll that'll disappear once we get our stuff set. The nose wheel steering is in the normal position and guarded. Good. Our clock is fine. Our instruments are looking good. Standby instruments good. ADF is on standby. That's fine. Cool. And we'll just come down here real quick. We'll leave the screens as is for now, but if it gets dark and these screens get a little too bright, we'll just go ahead and turn those down when we're in the air. All of our GPWS warning inhibits are all closed and guarded, which is what we want. Lights are set how we want it. Cool. Let's go down to the throttle quadrant here, and speed brakes up, flaps are up. Again, thrust levers idle, reversers are stowed. Fuel cutoff switches are in the off position. We'll set the parking brake. I always forget to do that before I start. Stab trim switches are all in the normal position. That's good. So we'll come down here and do our fire test. So fault and op first, and we get lights. That's looking good. And we'll do the fire test. And all lights and the whistles are sounding. Cool. Fire extinguisher, 3 greens, and number 2 we get 3 greens as well, so that's looking good. Go down to our radio panel. We'll leave the frequencies alone for now. It looks like it auto-tuned to Houston 8-ish or something like that. I don't understand why it does that, but we'll just leave it as is for now, or at least we're not hearing anything. That's good. Our audio switches are all looking normal. We don't really use the ADF, but it is available to us if we need. Cool. We'll go ahead and test the cargo bay fire and lights. Cool, and we get bells as well. Our radar can stay where it is. We'll flip our transponder to TARA since we are on VATSIM and they like that on the ground. Auto ATC did give us a squawk code, so let's put that in right now. Let's see. 4022. Okay, 4022 is in the transponder. Excellent. And verify right here that it worked with the sim. All of our trims are zeroed and in a good normal position. That's good. All of the radio stuff on the right side is looking good. Stab trim, normal and guarded. The fail indications here are extinguished. That's good. And the flight deck door in op, but that's what you would do if you don't want to let anyone in. Okay. So that's good right there. And just going to take a peek at the emergency gear extend, which is down here. Cool. Everything is down and stowed, and that's looking good. All right, cool. All right, so now we're going to start looking at our FMC here, and we're going to start putting in some information. So let's go to FMC, and we're going to do position init. Everything looks good. The model is correct. The nav data is current. That looks good. Engine rating 26K. Yep, fine for now. Position init. Our reference airport is Kilo India Alpha Hotel. Just going to make sure I type that in correctly. Yep, Kilo India Alpha Hotel. So that's our reference airport. Good. Go to the next page. We're going to copy GPS left. That's copied. Previous page. And we will set our IRS position. Look at that. And we're going to verify that the... Oops. Going to verify that the instruments all come alive, which they do. Sweet. Alright, so now we'll go to route, and we're departing out of Houston, and that's already set at the bottom for us, so we'll just put it in origin, and then we are flying to Kilo Mike India Alpha, Miami International. Our flight today is American 2103, and that is correct. Cool. Put that there. Excellent. So let's get ourselves a departure going here. So we're departing from Houston, and we're looking at our route on the OFP. So we're departing runway 9er, and we're doing the Gumby 3 departure. So we'll select that, and then our transition is Lima Lima Alpha VOR. Cool. So we have our runway, we have our departure, and our transition. So that's good. We'll go to route. We'll activate that, execute, and then we'll start putting in some more waypoints. So after Lima Lima Alpha, we're direct to Lima Echo Victor VOR. So let's put that in there. On the right side, we're direct there. Confirmed. Good. Then we're taking an airway. So we're taking the Yankee 290 airway. Y290. Put that on the left side. And then we are taking that up to GAUX. Golf Alpha Whiskey Kilo Sierra. Okay. And that's looking good there. And then GAUX is actually our transition into the arrival. So let's go ahead and execute that. Go back to the departure arrival page, go to Miami arrivals, and now we will do the Frogs 4, which is right here, and GAUX transition, and we are expecting, let's see where runway SimBrief is expecting us to land at, and then if we have to change it, we will. So we're expecting runway 30, oops, I scrolled away from it by accident, yep. Okay, and the METAR does support that, so we'll plan for runway 30. So let's get the ILS 30 attached to this arrival here, and that's good. So let's execute that, and we'll expect vectors just in case Miami Center comes online. Now we'll go to our legs page and just verify that there are 0 discontinuities. Just scroll through here. Everything's looking good so far. Vectors, yep. Look at that, 0 discontinuities. I love to see it. All right, so we're gonna go to the init reference page, and we got our perf init here. So we're gonna use our ramp weight for gross weight, and we're looking at 138.9er for our gross weight. Let's put that in there. Planned fuel we'll leave blank because the fuel is already loaded on board, and we don't need to change anything, so that's fine. 0 fuel weight 122.2. It does match the 0 fuel weight in the flight plan. That's good. Reserves, we're looking at 4.2, 4189, so we'll round up 4.2 right here. Cool. And then the cost index that it wants us to use for today is 10. Alright, so we might be saving some money here today. So cost index 10, cool. Our cruise altitude today is flight level 370. So we'll slap that in there. Cool. Cruise wind, we're going to use our top of climb winds, which are 300 at 39. 300 at 39. Excellent. And everything else looks good there. Outside air temperature. Oh, top of climb air temperature. Yeah, that's good. Leave it where it is. And that's good. Alright, cool. So we'll execute that performance profile. We're going to go to N1 limit, and then we're going to look at the EFB and do our takeoff performance calculations. So our performance tool can be here. Actually, I always forget to do this. It's much easier if you go here and you request the data from SimBrief. Oop. Oh, you know what? That's unfortunate. There we go. Save our preferences here. Okay. And now we should have the proper flight plan. Yes, we do. Alright, sweet. Cool. Now we'll go to the performance tool. And look at that. We have departure out of Houston. We're departing runway 9er. And everything else looks correct. We have a little bit of a downgrade in runway slope, so we're going to accelerate a little bit faster. Runway length is 9,900. That's good. Almost 10,000. So we'll import our aircraft weights and data and everything looks good there. And then we'll import the weather. 120 at 7, which checks. Just verify via METAR. Yep. That does check, so let's go ahead and calculate. Alright. So we are going to do a D rate. And we're doing a flaps 5 takeoff. We should expect a 91.9er N1 percentage on takeoff for toga thrust, and our select temp is 45. Alright. So we'll come down here, and our select temp is 45. So we'll put that up in the top left here. Good. And then we will do a takeoff 1 D rate, and 92.0, 91.9er. That's fine. So we're going to go with that right now. Unable 280 knots at Cleat. That has to do with our arrival. We will fix that momentarily. So we'll go to takeoff, and we're doing a flaps 5 departure, and we're going to verify that these V speeds check with our performance calculations. So 137, 138, and 143. 137, 138, and 143. It checks. I like it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and put those V speeds in there since they check. And we're going to take our CG trim, which will auto-populate for us, 25.9ers. Put that in there, and our trim value is going to be 4.77. So let's go ahead and set our trim value at about 4.77. It should be 3/4 of the way between 4 and 5. It looks close enough to me. I like it. Alright. Go back to the FMC, and we're just going to double-check that everything is correct. So go back to our route page, you know, everything looks good here. Our performance checks. Go to the index. Yep. Sweet. N1 limit we already did, so we're good there. Cool. And we're going to clear this message, and then the last thing I'm going to do is go through our VNAV page. So our climb, we're looking at a target speed of 282 knots and 0.768 on the Mach. That looks normal. 250 below 10,000, that also looks normal. So now let's go to the cruise page, and we're looking to cruise at about Mach 0.768, which is pretty good. I like it. We'll roll with it. It's very normal, not going to overspeed or anything. And our descent page, it wants us, our target speed is saying 250, but since we have speed restrictions, as the FMC has told us, we're going to go ahead and put a slant 280 and put it in that target speed section right there. And we're going to execute that. So now we should be able to follow our arrival as prescribed on the chart, or published on the chart. That's the correct word. All right, we'll stay on our legs page. Cool. So everything is loaded in the FMC, and we're looking good there. Our IRSs are aligned. We are just about ready for pushback. All right. So we're going to come over top here and start getting ready for pushback now. So we're going to check the fuel pumps. So we're going to turn on the wing pumps, and then we're just going to see if we have anything in the center tank, which we do not. The center tank is empty, so those pumps can stay off for now. We'll flip this switch to Gen 1, so when we turn the engine generators on, we will know if we're getting a positive charge. Everything on this side looks good from top down. Seatbelt signs, verify on, they're good. We will turn the probe heats on now to verify that they work, and they do. The lights are extinguished. The anti-ice we don't need. Pretty sure it's like really warm here in Houston. It is. It's 28 Celsius, which is pretty hot, probably about like 80 degrees Fahrenheit or so. Alright, so the hydraulic pumps are going to come on. We're going to wait for those lights to extinguish, which they do, and then we'll verify we have hydraulic pressure right here, which we do. That looks good, and our front door is open because of loading passengers. That's fine. Packs will go off before engines start. We'll leave those there for now, though, so the passengers don't get too hot before we push back, and the pressurization panel is good. Now, just go over top, verify everything looks exactly how we want it to up here, which it does. Nothing has changed. Excellent. So now we're going to turn our beacon on, and we are going to get ourselves set for pushback. All right. Go to the FMC menu, MFS actions, and we're going to close the door first. And you can hear it close and lock. That's good. And we're going to go to ground services, and we will relinquish the jetway. And then we'll come up here and verify that it does relinquish. Cool. Now let's go ahead and look at the airport diagram just real quick. Go to the departure. Oop. Okay, I'm gonna double check that Navigraph is... Alright, I guess we'll have to go to Navigraph and put in the code. I did a Your Controls flight with a friend not too long ago, and the EFB didn't work the way we thought it would, so we used his Navigraph, and now we're going to switch back. So let's go ahead and verify that, and then once we do this, we should have our charts available to us. Excellent. All right. Now we should be good, theoretically. Awesome. Oh, now they're starting to pop up. Cool. Alright. If there's one problem, there's many problems. Alright, so runway 9er is down here and to the right. So we're going to push back, and we are going to face the nose to the right. Alright. So let's go ahead and do that now that we're ready for pushback. Let's go to the pushback page. The jetway is disconnected. Pushback. We're going to do a standard L. And the nose is going to face to the right, which is good. 90 degrees is just fine. There's nothing that would stop us from doing that. We can also go outside and just verify via camera view. We look good. I like it. Alright, and actually, real quick, I did not tune into CTAF, so we're just going to do that real quick. That's CTAF KIH. Alright, 12535. Okay, 12535. And it looks like we are going to be pushing onto a taxiway, so let's look at the EFB real quick and just see what taxiway we're pushing onto. Alright. Houston International traffic, American 2103 is at gate Charlie 26, going to be pushing back onto Romeo Charlie facing east, Houston. Cool. So we now start pushback because we are pushing back onto an active taxiway, and we can go ahead and start the pushback.
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
Beacons on, brakes released, clear to push tail left.
Copy that. Clear to push, tail left, release the brakes.
Brakes released. Get rid of the master caution.
Brakes released.
Pushback takes a minute, but we will start. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to begin engine start in just a second here, so the packs are going to come off. And we're clear behind us. That's good. So let's go ahead and begin the process. So engine number 2 is going to go to ground on the ignition, looking for the duct pressure change, which we got. That's good. The start valve is open on the right side. N2 is rising. And 25% N2, we are introducing fuel. Alright, EGT is rising and normal. Oil pressure is rising and also normal. Oil temp is rising and normal. So far, so good.
Pushback complete. You guys can set the brakes.
Brake set.
Okay, brakes set, clear to disconnect, and thanks for the good push. We'll see ya.
Alright, so...
Yeah, no problem, guys. We're disconnecting the tow bar now. Stand by.
Alright,
Okay, tow bar is disconnected. We're disconnecting the interphone right now. Pin's gonna be on the right-hand side, guys. Take care. We'll see you.
It's hard to think about what I'm trying to talk about when someone else is talking over me. Just kidding. So engine number 2 is a good start. That's good. So let's go ahead and throw engine number 1 into ground ignition, looking for the duct pressure change, which we got. Cool. And start valve is open, and N2 is rising. All right. And 25% N2, introducing fuel. Alright, EGT is rising in normal, oil pressure is rising in normal, and the oil temp rising in normal. Sweet. We will just monitor. Alright, engine number 1 is stable. We have negative hot starts, which is good. Alright, cool. So both engine starts good, so we'll go to the top here and we'll start maybe verifying that everything is ready for the go. Yaw damper is on, that's good. Fuel pumps are all on. Engine gen, we'll turn those on now. And we have positive amps, looking good. Fasten seatbelt signs are on, excellent. And probe heats are on, anti-ice we don't need, hydraulic pumps are on, sweet. And interesting, the packs can come back on, engine bleeds are on, APU bleed is off, ISOL valve to auto. Excellent, and we will turn the APU off. Zone temp indication, that's really interesting to have. Should be in the auto position. Alright, we'll check that in just a second after we do our before takeoff, or before taxi. Alright, so both flight directors are going to come on, and we are going to do auto brake to RTO. We're going to do flaps 5. The anti-skid light extinguished. We'll do a ground proximity test. I forgot to do that before pushback. And TCAS test as well.
Glide slow. Pull up. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up. Airspeed low. Airspeed low.
And then once that disappears on the radar, we'll go ahead and perform a quick TCAS test. Alright, and TCAS test. Looking for the bars on the attitude indicator here. TCAS is testing, traffic warning, and traffic blips. Sweet.
TCAS test. Pass.
Now I'm going to go back to the overhead panel and see that zone temp is still looking kind of odd. Our AC units are on. This is the continuous cab forward and aft cab. I wonder if anything on here looks the cargo cab. No, everything's normal up here. Maybe it's just really hot. Because Houston is really hot right now. We're just gonna roll with it and see what happens. This is a sim, so. Alright, well, we're about ready for takeoff. Just a quick flight control test. And we're looking up here, so full right aileron and spoiler rise, left aileron down, left aileron and spoiler up, right aileron down, elevator forward, full back, rudder full right, and full left. And our flight controls are free and correct. Alright, so we'll go back to the engine page and monitor the engine gauges, and we are ready for taxi. Alright. Brakes are going to go off. I tried clicking it like a moron. Taxi lights coming on, and let's look at our chart real quick. And we're going to take... we'll do Romeo Charlie to Sierra Charlie. That's about the best thing that we can do right now. Oh, Romeo Bravo bridge. So technically it's Romeo Bravo. Alright. Houston International Traffic, American 2103 is taxiing to runway 9er via Romeo Charlie, Romeo Bravo, and Sierra Charlie, Houston. So let's go ahead and begin our taxi now. And then, since our first waypoint is really close...
Intercontinental traffic, Southwest 3449, just push from terminal. You're going to be taxiing on runway 15 left via November Romeo Whiskey, Intercontinental traffic.
Alright, so we do have traffic at the airport, other traffic at the airport as well. We'll keep that in mind, and I think since we are so close to our first waypoint, it's just over 10 miles out, I'm tempted to get rid of the vectoring, although... You know, we'll just deal with it and go direct to when we need to go direct to. We'll be fine. And we'll pick up a little speed here. And from here, we are going over the bridge, which actually doesn't appear to be a bridge here.
Houston traffic, Southwest 3449, we're going to be taking off runway 15 left on the Pitts 5 departure. Departure will be out to the west for Houston traffic.
Okay. So he's going opposite direction of us, so we will be free and clear of that traffic. And Sierra Charlie is going to be a little bit of a ways down. so this next right is Romeo Alpha, so we're going to be passing that. And then the next right should be Sierra Charlie. And then we'll check VATSIM radars to make sure we're not going to be in anyone's way, which we're not.
And Houston traffic Southwest 3449, we're clear of 15 left, we're climbing 1.3 on the pit side departure. Last call for Houston.
And Sierra Charlie is the next right. So we'll just slow down a little bit so we don't whip the turn. Slow down a little more. And this will lead us to the end of runway 9er. So we'll clear both directions of the runway now. I know that no one's really around, so that should be a-okay. Which it is, so let's get ready for takeoff. Landing lights, turn off lights are all on. Our strobes are coming on, and we are ready for departure. Houston traffic, American 2103 is taking runway 9er, departing eastbound on the Gummy 3 departure, Houston. Slow down a little bit so we can get properly aligned with the runway. Oh, might have to give it a little extra oomph. Alright, engine's going to 40%. And engine's stable. Toga.
Airspeed alive. 80 knots.
Cross check.
V1.
Rotate.
Rotate.
P2. Positive rate.
Gear up. And we'll go direct to Dawson. And we'll throw on LNAV mode and follow our flight director accordingly. Alright, we're going about 10 degrees nose up pitch. Should be rolling out. And flaps one. Some more airspeed. And flaps can come up. And we'll arm the autopilot. And we will turn on VNAV, and N1 mode is also set. That's good. And our flaps are up. Alright. Auto brake is coming off. Gear lever switch is going to off. We are accelerating to 250 knots, which should have checked the departure to make sure there were no extra speed restrictions. Oh yeah, max 230. Okay. Oh, at that waypoint, but that's if we were taking off a different runway, but we are not, so looking good on the speed here. And we are following the departure. All right. want 4,000 or below at Dawson, then 5,000 or below at Gumby, and then we will get back into the climb. And provide a heading sync for now. That will change very soon, but can never be too careful. Engine gauges are all looking normal. We're getting a little bit of turbulence in the climb here, so the plane's getting kind of bumped around a little bit. Our aircraft is following the track very nicely. And then another turn in just a second here. And we're below 5,000 at Gumby, that's good, and now we can resume our climb to flight level 370. Heading sync again. And now we can zoom out on the map just to see what we have ahead of us. Cool. Direction is changing relatively quickly. Alright. So, now we're past 10,000, landing lights are coming off, runway turn off are off as well, and the taxi light is off, and we will notify the flight attendants. Okay. right above 18,000 feet. Altimeter's to standard. It's a nice, beautiful view of the Gulf Coast. Nice shadow of the rudder just going across the whole top of the airplane really good. Almost looks like part of the livery. Look at that Gulf Coast. Fantastic. Little shoreline action. Never hurt no one. looks like Jacksonville Center signed on, so we might have a brief 20 minutes of ATC throughout our cruise. We had a couple of them sign on. So, the question is which one are we going to tune into? Two of them are on the same frequency, one of them's an instructor, so we actually have two sectors on the line currently, so... Nice. Everything is still looking quite good as far as engine gauges. Climb rate is slowing down as it does. And then once we intercept that Mach point 768, I do presume it will auto switch to Mach speed. Now that we're in the higher altitudes, the wind direction seems to be pretty steady out of 313. go. After crossing the Lima Lima Alpha VOR, it does look like we will be turning into more of a direct tailwind, so that'll be helpful for our arrival time. Passengers should be pretty happy about that. We're at our cruise altitude of 37,000 feet, and we're looking at the attitude indicator, seeing if the plane is bumping around. It is not. It doesn't look like the plane is bumping around. Winds are smooth, so we'll go ahead and turn off the fasten seatbelt signs for now, and then monitor the weather as we go on. And everything looks good. All right, well, now we're at our cruise altitude, and we're going to enjoy the view of the shoreline of the Gulf as we go along, and sit back, relax, enjoy yourself, and we'll come back to it. And that sun is starting to set now, so we're just getting our displays a little bit lower on the brightness so we don't overpower our eyes with all of these bright lights. Trying to always preserve that night vision. That's important. We'll do the same on the right side. And the standby instrument as well. And probably in about 10, 15 minutes, maybe somewhere around there, we will be going through Jacksonville Center's airspace, so we'll expect a message on VPilot from those guys to contact, and we'll know from there which frequency we should be tuning into. So let's see. And I'm trying to look at aircraft in the area that may be tuned into a similar frequency. Based off of the area, it looks like we might be contacting 135.9 or 2, but we'll wait for VPilot to send us a message, and we will then contact the appropriate frequency. Alright. It's a good deal. And everything is still looking good here. Let's go ahead and get our arrival on standby just to stay ahead of the aircraft here. And once again, we're doing the Frogs 4 arrival. And this is never in alphabetical order, which is a little bit confusing to me, but that's fine. Oh, you know what might help is if we actually select the arrival airport. And there we go. And it looks like it's actually in alphabetical order now, so that's good. And we're starting at Gawks. Alright. And these 280 knot speed restrictions, we can confirm on the FMC that our descent speed, our target speed is 280, so we will be able to follow that procedure accordingly while we keep VNAV mode on. So we're looking really good right now. And you know, once we get further along, we'll start to plan our descent and get our approaches ready and everything to go like that. So let's go ahead and just for the purpose of the sim and you guys being able to see the wing, we'll turn the wing inspection lights on and get you back to that wing view. And hopefully you can see the shoreline from there. It is getting dark, but it's going to be just fine. We are now pretty much deep into the Gulf, so the shoreline is kind of disappearing as we go on, but you can still see it in the far, far distance over there, so at least you get some type of view. But we'll continue to sit back, relax, and monitor, and everything's looking good so far. Hope you guys are enjoying the flight. And one thing I did forget to do was to tune into the en route Unicom, so I will do that. And just like that, we did get a prompt from Jacksonville Center to sign on to their frequency, and what do you know, 135-925. So let's go ahead and check in. Jacksonville Center, good evening, American 2103, flight level 370.
American 2103, Jax, radar contact about 10 west of Bollywood, flight level 370, welcome.
Noise.
Pilot Club 563, clear direct elite.
Direct elite, Pilot Club 563.
Skywest 227, contact Jacksonville Center 12787.
12787, Skywest 227. Have a good night.
Number 39 Lima, fly runway heading, runway 36, clear for takeoff. Fly runway heading, clear takeoff. Pilot Club 563, cross elite at flight level 270.
Elite 270, Pilot Club 563.
Number 39 Lima, ident, climb and maintain 5,000. 5,000 ident. Not sure if my ident is playing. 39 Lima, I don't see it, but let's do this. Turn right turn heading 090, maintain 5,000. 090, 5,000. Number 39 Lima, radar contact 3 miles northeast of the Cairns Airport. Maintain 7,000, clear direct Romeo Sierra. 7,000, direct Romeo Sierra. Center, United 1924, checking in here northwest at flight level 390. United 1924, Jack, Sunville Center, welcome, maintain flight level 390. 390, 1924. November 39 Lima, altitude shows 8,100 currently. Check your altimeter. Altimeter in the area is 3002. Yep, sorry about that. I'm sending to 7,000. No problem.
thing I did forget to do was turn my control settings to not the CRJ. Uh-oh.
Jack Center, subjet 396, leveling out of 15,000 west.
Object 396, Jax, need you on another altitude. Would you like 23 or 25?
We'll take 25. We'd like to change our destination from Charleston to Atlanta. Decided to dump it.
Alright, Object 396, roger. Climb and maintain, if you go to Charleston, then we'll do 25 definitely. Clear to the Charleston Airport via present heading. Radar vectors, Charleston. And climb and maintain flight level 250.
Alright, present heading, radar vectors Charleston, and up to 250, jet 396.
And Object 396, I have a reroute for you. Advise when you're ready to copy.
Go ahead.
Object 396, passing 16,000. You're cleared to the Charleston Airport via direct Savannah VOR, Sierra Alpha Victor, direct Charleston Airport, maintain flight level 250.
Alright, leaving 16,000, direct the Savannah VOR, direct Charleston Airport, up jet 396.
Object 396, thank you, read back correct. Pilot Club 563, comply with the elite restriction, then descend via the Grinch 5, landing north, altimeter 3001.
All right, comply with the elite restriction and then continue on the Grinch 5 landing north, Pascal 563.
Number 39er, Leva Montgomery, altimeter 3008. 3008. Object 396, unfortunately doesn't look like you wanted to talk to me. Contact Jacksonville Center 12787.
I'll look, man.
See you. Number 39er Lima Atlanta, approach offline, radar service terminated, frequency changed, approved, take care.
Thanks. See you later.
Yep. American 2103, Miami Center offline, radar service terminated, frequency changed, approved, take care. Yeah.
I forgot I had muted my mic briefly before I made that call. We got handed off back to en route, Unicom / CTAF, whatever you want to call it, and yeah. So now we're back on 122.8. So now what we're going to do is we're getting close enough to where we can start preparing for the descent. So we're planning for runway 30. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the approach first. If I can get this dang thing to work. Okay, there we go. Alright. So let's start with the approach, and we're doing runway 30. We're using the ILS. As of right now, it is VFR at Miami, but we always use the ILS as a backup just to be safe. So we'll start with the ILS frequency, which is 111.7. So let's go ahead and tune that into our nav frequencies here. We got 111.7 for nav 1, 1117 for nav 2. Boy, am I struggling today. Alright, the approach course is 304, so now we're going to set that in both of our course knobs, if you will, on the autopilot. We'll bug our course of 304. That looks good. Excellent. And now we're looking at minimums are at 258 MSL. So let's go ahead and set ourselves some minimums here. 258. Oop, that's 260. There we go, 258 right there. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to use the performance tool to calculate our landing distance. So landing en route, and we're doing runway 30. So let's scroll down here, 30. We're going to import, we're doing a flaps 30 landing, we're not doing flaps 15. And then, yep, everything looks good there. And then VREF will add 5 just for safety, and then we'll import the weather, and everything looks about accurate there. Cool, so let's calculate. All right, so we're looking at a VREF speed of 145. The required landing distance is 3,159 feet, which is plenty because we have 8,407 available to us, so that's good. We have plenty of runway to land on. That's good. We'll do... Actually, I'm curious if it's set in auto brake. Oh, nope, we're definitely not doing max manual. So let's recalculate this. Alright, required landing distance 5275. There we go. All the settings in here got kind of screwed up. It must have been from when I did the Your Controls flight with my friend the other day, so I have to reconfigure everything. But that's okay. 5275. We still have 8407 available to us. VREF doesn't change. We're at 145. That's good. So we'll go to the InitRef page. Go to index. We'll go to the approach page, and we will set flaps 30 slash VREF of 145, and we will put that in the flap speed over here, and that looks good. Flap speed is 30 and 145. All right, let's get off of this page. Verify it. We have in the bottom left corner of the PFD, which we do. That's good. All right. Love to see it. We'll give a good old heading sync here, like so. All right. And then let's get the arrival loaded up for us again. Star, we're doing the Frogs 4. And let's see, we're coming from Gox, and then we're going to follow this track right here. We want to be at or above flight level 340 over plows, which we are at 37, so we'll be good there. Our top of descent is probably going to be probably a little bit after plows. And then at cleats, we want to be between flight level 210 and 280 at 280 knots. And then above 15,000 by Barbin. And then Jamis above 11,000 at 280 knots. And then if we're landing 30, we're going all the way to Winter. Oh, all the way down here. So we'll continue on, and there we go. Oh, I see. Landing runways, so this part doesn't apply to us down up there. This part does down here. So very interesting to have an altitude restriction at or above 11,000. Oh, I mean, it makes sense. It's at or above 11,000 here, and this is at or above 11,000. So we can expect it to descend a little bit later in this arrival. Okay, this is all making sense. And then we're 250 knots by Vega. And then no more speed restrictions from there, just altitude. And then we're ending at or above 8,000 by Macy's. All right. And we could go to the FMC and just double check everything. Plows at or above 35, and then 15, 11, 16, 14. Yep. Alright, so all of the altitude restrictions on the waypoints and the legs page do match those on the chart, so we're looking good there. And we still have quite a bit to top a descent, but it's coming up shortly, and we will begin making our way into Miami. so the shoreline of Florida is showing up right in front of us here, so we're starting to get closer. Alright, so we're coming up on about 20 miles to our top of descent. We will begin our descent shortly. Seatbelt signs are coming back on. What a smooth flight it has been so far. The winds did pick up. We're looking at a 63 knot tailwind now compared to the 30 knots we had about an hour ago. But it hasn't been super aggressive or anything by any means, so we haven't been getting bumped around a lot. So overall, people had a pleasant ride, which is always good. So now that we're about, let's see, we're about 20 miles from top of descent, so let's put this altitude bug on our autopilot down to 8,000, which is the bottom of the arrival, and we're just going to double check that real quick. We're going all the way to winter, and I was very much wrong. It is actually 5,000. It's a good thing you double checked that, because I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know, Miami is basically at sea level. Why would it be 8,000? And that's because it's not. So 5,000 is the bottom altitude on the arrival. Double checking everything in the FMC. Everything is correct as far as altitude restrictions, so I'm not worried about that. We'll always monitor to make sure we don't bust anything, but we will basically go off of VNAV mode. So now that we have our altitude set down to 5,000, we're going to go to our FMC. We're going to go to the descent page, and we're going to hit descend now, and we're going to execute, and now the plane should begin our descent. Look at that, we are coming up on the Florida coast right about now, flying right along it, basically southbound as the arrival, you know, has us doing for a little bit here, and then we will turn eastbound again and begin making our way to Miami. And we have all of our approach information loaded in so far. We're expecting runway 30, Miami Center or Tower, and no one's online in the Miami area as far as VATSIM is concerned, so we're going to just continue on to runway 30. The winds are still favoring the runway very much. I'm going to double check here. We're looking at 300 at 11, gust 19, so yeah, right down the runway, straight down the pipe. So runway 30 it will be, and I just remembered there was one thing I wanted to do and I forgot exactly what that was, so I'll think about it, it's cool. But for now, we're just going to pull up the CTAF frequency for Miami and have that on standby, and it is 118.3, so let's get that in our radio here. And confirm it's 300, which it is. Excellent, alright. Now I really wish I remembered what it is I wanted to do, because I feel like it was important. Clearly it must not have been, so... Alright. And of course we're just monitoring everything and making sure that we are abiding by the altitude restrictions. Intercepting our actual VNAV track now. One thing I do want to do while I'm thinking about it is wing inspection lights can come off, because we're going to stay in the cockpit for the remainder of the flight, so we don't need it. The weather is very much clear. in Miami, so we're not going to go through any visible moisture. Unless, of course, we happen to see some, and we'll pay attention to the temperature and change accordingly. Oh, one thing I did want to do was set the altimeter. That might have been it. So altimeter is 29908, so let's get that on standby. Alright, 29908. Alright, and we intercepted our 280 knot indicated airspeed, so we're out of Mach speed. It auto flipped. That's good. The aircraft is doing a great job at maintaining 280 knots, so we are looking very, very good for this arrival. And go figure, now that I'm almost in Miami, Houston Center just signed online. That is pretty typical. That's alright though. The aircraft is doing a very good job at these altitude restrictions, so I have no reason to be concerned that the autopilot will bust it. We're going to go ahead and do another heading sync. Always heading sync when you can, because you want to be ready in the event that your, navigational, like your LNAV or your VOR autopilot things fail on you. So you want to be able to maintain heading mode and still be on track, instead of the plane doing something you don't expect it to do and not being ready, and then you have to take extra time to sync your heading. That may make things worse. You always want to be ready just in case. Stay ahead of the aircraft at all times. And then we're just going to verify one more time again that we have the proper ILS frequencies in, which we do 111.7 on both sides. They are both active. We have 304 on both of our course bugs for the autopilot. Minimum's 258. We have our VREF and our flap setting. We're looking very good, and our altimeter is on standby 29908. So once we get below flight level 180, we will switch it over. we're direct to Jamas, which 1000 or above, but since we are landing runway 30, there are some higher restrictions later on. So us being at, you know, flight level 206 is no problem because we're still on track. Following our VNAV profile very well, the aircraft is still maintaining 280 knots, and we are 280 until we hit Vega. Excuse me. For anyone watching this stream and it's entirely who wants to learn something, we're looking at RNP/actual here. So RNP is required navigational performance. Now this is what's required for a lot of GPS, you know, flights. If we're doing arrivals and approaches, if we do an RNAV or something like that, there's different required navigational performance for the GPS. So in the en route phase, which is basically our cruise phase, we're required to be 2 miles. You know, the accuracy is required to be within 2 miles on either side of the actual course. And so that's for the en route phase. Now we're in the what's called the terminal phase, which is between en route and approach. And the required navigational performance is the accuracy needs to be within 1 mile of the actual, you know, course. But you can see that the actual RNP that we're getting right now is 0.05 nautical miles, which is insanely good. That's telling us that we're basically right on top of the course that we want to be. Our accuracy is immaculate, is what that's saying. And then in the approach phase, you actually want to be within 0.3 miles of either side of the approach path or the course. And hopefully the actual stays the same, so we'll be well within that restriction. But basically, it's for accuracy. Instrument flight requires a lot of precision, especially in areas of terrain and obstacles and stuff like that. So very, very much important, and we're doing a very good job on maintaining that course. So, oh, we're below 18,000. We passed a while ago, so we'll flip over to altimeter, which is 2998. Oop. Opening stuff by accident. Alright, and we're going to call 15,000 our final descent, so to speak, so we'll alert the flight attendants. They can start collecting the trash and then begin making their way to their seats. And as we start rolling out, let's go ahead and give another heading sync. Drag required. Alright, so it's telling us that drag is going to be required to slow down to 250 knots. I had a message come up here on the bottom on the actual FMC I have next to me, and on the bottom it says drag required, so that's just telling us we're going to need some speed brakes to slow down and get down to 250. So let's go ahead and Might have something to do with my control settings that I switched. Hang on a second. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. I was on the wrong setting. Alright, let's try this again. There we go. Now we have speed brakes. As I keep doing these streams and flying more and whatnot, I'm starting to learn the process of what is required to be checked before I stream, and I have to make sure I remember my controls configuration on top of that. So make sure I'm on the aircraft that I want to be on, and yeah, so forth. Alright, so we're doing good on the arrival. We're just north of the field. I do have the field in sight, and then we're going to be turning to the right, and we're going to be heading south of the field, and then we will vector ourselves to the ILS. I'm going to verify that we're not conflicting with any traffic in the area. It does kind of look like there are people coming at us, but they are much lower. American 775 is holding his altitude, which is good. Oh, no, he's climbing, but we're plenty higher than him. Okay. So we're within 15 nautical miles of the field, so let's switch over to 118.3 and see if anyone makes a Unicom call. I have both people in sight here, and it looks like they are not coming at us, so that's a good sign. There is one person on the field currently on the ground, so we'll keep an eye out for that individual. And now we're 250 knots. We'll keep the Dragon for now. And then once we start descending a little slower, maybe we can pull that out.
Tower.
What?
Yeah, I had a quick question for you. We sort of monitor CTAP, but this is CTAP frequency.
What's he saying? Okay. So let's pull the approach plate up and have it on standby. We are doing a visual because, you know, it's VFR conditions, but we always like to have it on standby just in case.
Rudder.
Have a backup. People still don't know what CTAP is. Alright, so we want to be at 5,000 by winter, and then what are we going to next? So we have Oldie here, and we want to be at or above 3,000 at Oldie. So once we cross over winter, we'll descend down to 3,000 and then begin vectoring ourselves to runway 30, the ILS track. Oh, and we're starting to fall below 250 here, so we can take the drag out, get back up to speed. And 250 knots is, or you know what, I don't even have the arrival pulled up anymore, but I do not believe that there's anything else past speed. Nope. One thing I did forget, 10,000 feet, landing lights are coming on. We'll turn the taxi light on as well. Runway turnoffs can come on as well. Inspection lights are off, and we are pretty good for before landing checklist. Zoom in on our map here. We're going to try and gauge how to vector ourselves. We're going to look for a pretty quick 2 turns here. We're going to make a 90-degree left turn, and there's going to be a pretty rapid left turn for the 30-degree intercept after that. Looks like there's about 3 miles of space between where we are right now and the ILS track. So we will keep that in mind as we go. And everything is going to happen very, very quickly. Now, there is no speed restriction at winter, so I think I'm going to do a speed intervention here, and I am going to slow this aircraft down to about 210 knots, since we're within the vicinity of the airport. And we'll introduce some drag again just to help us slow down to that speed. And once we intercept 210 indicated airspeed, we will take the drag out and see if it holds. Which it should. We're descending at 1,000 feet per minute, so it shouldn't be that hard for the 737 to keep the speed that low. But you never know. This thing is slick and it doesn't like to slow down all that much. And then we're going to heading sync, and then just before we cross over winter, we're going to go to heading mode on the autopilot. Alright, 210 knots, we can take the drag out. And then after we cross over winter, we'll descend down to 3,000 at 1,000 feet per minute. And that should get us to 3,000 by the time we cross over Oldie. And get ourselves lined up with the runway and give ourselves a nice visual approach. Alright, heading select is on. And we are officially crossed over winter, so let's go down to 3,000. We'll enable vertical speed mode and do 1,000 feet per minute. We'll give ourselves a 90-degree turn, so 125 minus 90, so we're going to do 035. And we'll go flaps 1 to help us slow down. Drop the slats. And then once our ILS course over here is about 2 miles away, we'll do that 30-degree intercept, which is going to be 330. And we're going to do flaps 5. And we'll do that turn now. That's about 2 miles. And then we're going to go ahead and arm approach mode. And we're going to throw on Command B since we are in approach mode. And look at that, we're intercepting the ILS track right now. Actually, it might have been a little bit soon for flaps 5, but we'll just keep it in, maintain 210 knots for now. I just wanted to make sure we were slow enough so we could make those turns and not overshoot. Command B. I'm going to verify that that stays on now. Okay, which it does, and we're on approach mode. Okay. Alright. Alright, so we have a dual command autopilot ILS going right now for accuracy. We're doing good there. And then once we intercept the glide slope, we'll drop the gear. And then we'll slow down to 180 knots. Alright, that's our glide slope. Let's drop the gear. Alright, we have 3 greens down here. We have 3 greens up top. Excellent. Alright. So now we're going to do auto brake to 3. We're going to arm the speed brake. And we will continue our approach. And let's slow down to 180. Miami traffic, American 2103 is on a 7-mile final, runway 30 Miami. Should have made a 10-mile call, but I got a little preoccupied there, but that'll happen. At least there's no traffic conflicts going on right now. Looks like we're a little bit offset from the runway, just a little bit. Alright, flaps 15. Let's begin slowing down to 160. Do flaps 25. Miami traffic, American 2103, 5-mile final, runway 30 Miami. Alright. And we're slowing down some more. Let's put our speed bug on 145. Let's take out the auto throttle and do throttles by hand. Alright, we're slowing down, that's good. And flaps 30. And we will take over by hand right now. And we are doing a visual for runway 30. We're a little bit right of the center line here, so let's turn to the left and get ourselves back on. Get a little more throttle. We want to maintain that 145 or greater. Don't want to get less than 145. And while I have an opportunity, I might just pull up the airport information if I can. Maybe this was a really bad time to do that. That's why you stay ahead of your aircraft, folks. Alright. So we can add a little bit of throttle. I feel like we're going to start falling below glide slope here. Alright, now we're on center line. We're looking there, good there. We have 3 greens. The auto brake is armed. Auto brake is on. The speed brake is armed and the auto brake is on. Okay, a little more throttle so we don't get too slow. Alright, a little less. Now we're picking up. Stable approaching minimum.
Minimum.
Continue.
$100.
Coming kind of fast here.
50. 30. 20. 10.
Okay, just nice and easy. We kind of ballooned up a little bit. Ooh, that was
Miami
nice
traffic,
and greasy.
United 1924, currently on a downwind.
2 in
At
reverse.
6,000, descending to 5,000 for runway 3, let's approach Miami traffic.
Alright, auto power brake is coming off. We'll take over manual braking, 60 knots. Reverse thrust is coming out. There we go. Speed brakes can get stowed. Alright, and we'll clean the flaps up. And let's go ahead and turn our APU on. Start making our way towards the gate here. It looks like we have a nice adjacent taxiway. Alright. And then we'll just go ahead and stop here for a second, announce we're clear, and what taxiways we're taking. So we're going to gate up if it wants to load. Uh-oh. Alright, there we go. So we're going to gate D41. D41, which is up top here. Oh, actually it's underneath. Alright, cool. So we'll do that. So we're going right about here. Miami traffic, American 2103 is clear of runway 30, taking Quebec Whiskey to the Delta Terminal, Miami. Alright, so let's begin our taxi again and we'll start clearing up here. Landing lights are coming off, runway turnoffs are off, and strobe lights are off as well. And verify the APU started. Yes, it did. Yaw damper can come off, probe heats can come off, and everything looks good for now. Get rid of the master caution. Oop. Taxiing kind of fast here, want to slow down just a hair. And we're going to be going down Quebec for just a little bit. Be looking for our third left. Or maybe the
Miami
second
traffic United 1924, establish on the localizer runway 30. Miami traffic.
Okay, so this taxiway just ends on the sim, but that's not accurate to real life. So it looks like we're going to be on Yankee. Oh no, we can pull onto Whiskey from here. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. We'll just go straight ahead here. Looking around, just making sure we don't hit anyone. Alright. So now we're on Yankee. Or sorry, Whiskey, not Yankee. And we're coming on this side of this building over here. And then 41 is in the corner. Okay. Turned a little hard there. Alright, 10 knots is good for taxiing by the gates. And normally I leave the taxi light off once I start parking at the gate to not blind the ground crew, but the sim is very dark over here, so I think I'm just going to leave it on so we can see the line. And just verify here what we're looking at. So looking at a little divot, and then it turns into the corner. Okay. So it looks like we're taking that gate right there. Should be very interesting. Actually, yeah.
Miami traffic, United 1924, 10 mile final, runway 30, Miami traffic.
So I'm trying to figure out where this line is. Okay, it looks like it's right there. So let's go to the external view, try and get ourselves in here. Nice and slow. Kind of get aligned here. Just a little bit to the right side. So we can get on track. Good. Oh, a little too soon to stop. And we'll go to the end of this line. That's fine. Right about there. Look at that. Alright. Cool. So we'll come in here and we're going to set our parking brake and turn our taxi light off, and then we will turn off the cutoff switches, and once we're below 20% N1, which
Miami
we are
traffic,
right now,
United,
beacons coming off.
1924, 6 mile final,
Alright,
runway
APU, oops.
30, Miami.
APU gen is coming on. I forgot to do that, of course. APU gen, alright, cool. We're getting positive amperage, that's good. Alright, fuel pumps except for the left forward are all coming off. Looking good here. The APU gen is on. Fasten seatbelts can come off now that we're stopped. Window heats can come off. Anti-ice stays off. Hydraulic pumps can get turned off. We're good there. That zone temp never really extinguished. That's interesting, but alright. APU bleeds coming on. Engine bleeds are coming off. ISOL valve open. Packs on auto. So now the passengers should be comfortable. Cool. And look at that. We are in our turnaround state. Let's get the dome light on so we can see in here. Cool. And everything looks good to me. Alright, let's go ahead and get the ground services going. FS actions. Let's go ahead, ground services. We're going to set some chocks. And now we're going to request the jetway. Look at that, it's pulling up. And once that jetway gets there connected, we're going to open the door. Alright, look at that. Jetway is settled, and now the door can open, and now the passengers can start leaving as they please. Alright. So there you have it. Houston to Miami. Alright, so that flight wasn't too terrible. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever been through, but definitely made some mistakes. I forgot to set up my controls ahead of time. That is way louder than that should be. Okay, so since that's extremely loud, we're just going to come inside of the cockpit here and talk here. Okay. But yeah, so I forgot to set a bunch of controls. I forgot that I did a Your Controls flight with a friend and everything on the EFB was messed up, and then the control settings were for the CRJ since I flew that last, and it was kind of disastrous as far as that concerned, but we fixed it, we dealt with it, and we flew the airplane, and everything else ended up going just fine. We did a really good approach. The landing was a little bit long. I flared a little faster than I meant to, and then we ballooned up a little bit, but we stuck it out, held our nose, and we touched down actually rather smoothly. So the landing was really good, and then we stopped, we got off the runway, and it was all pretty good. Yeah, not too bad of a flight. Not much went wrong. And now let's see if this... Yeah, that's extremely loud. Oh my goodness, what is going on there? Okay. So, yeah, that's that. Welcome to Miami, and I don't know what I'm going to be able to stream next. Life is pretty not planned for me at the moment.
Miami traffic, United 1924.
Things keep coming up.
Runway 30 with taxi to Golf 10 via...
Yep, I'm actually just going to disconnect. Okay, but yeah, things just keep like, I plan something and plans change, and it's just kind of interesting. So we're just rolling that for now. One thing I can do is turn these flight directors off. There we go. Alright. So yeah, I don't know when the next stream is, but trying to debate whether I want to do a 737 flight again or maybe try and rock the CRJ again, or I may wait for Aerosoft to update the CRJ again before we fly that, but that might be a while, so maybe I won't do that. Maybe I'll just fly it anyway, because I mean, for the most part, it's okay. It's just holding and then some other minor things that are kind of interesting with the aircraft itself, but that's fine. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If anyone wants to see any flights, any suggestions, just let me know, leave a comment, and I can probably make that happen. But that's all I got for you guys. Yeah, wherever you are, have a good night or a good day. Thanks to anyone that tuned in, and hope you learned something. And until next time, y'all take care. See ya!